Hello friends, and today we are going to start a new series of videos. What are these, you ask? These are recorded ranked gameplays, originating from me playing Smite. Now, a bit of a heads up as to what these will end up looking like. Typically, ranked matches last longer than the average Conquest match, so instead of the optimistically 20 to 25 minutes, or even less than that for a standard Conquest or one of the other modes, these tend to be longer. So if you are not about that life, that's fine, just be warned. This particular game, the initial file actually was recording what I was listening to in the background, not what was playing, so you missed the first minute, during which I feel like somebody... oh, no, I guess nobody died. Having said that, though, we had a pretty good team. On Bastet is Futfut, on Geb is Genpao, Herpy Farm is on Loki, and I can't actually pronounce the guy's name. The Loki got off to a pretty lousy start. Everybody else did okay, but yeah. Let's see. In answer to some of your queries, yes. I am going to post wedding pictures on here. I'm also doing the Ice Bucket Challenge, which is equally exciting. So I'm probably going to record that and challenge some of you guys, because I think that would be fun. Obviously, don't feel obligated to do it. It's more just something. Also donate. I'm giving a large portion of my YouTube earnings this year for expressly that purpose, and I would encourage a lot of you to do the same. What other social commentary can I talk about? The Scylla I was laning against was not the most competent, but proved a pretty worthy adversary. I died twice and ended 7-2. I think, in fact, I might end up with a kill here. Not entirely sure. No, I was hoping that they would travel just a little bit more. We narrowly missed a kill on the Freya there. Having said that, what can I tell you about Smite? Typically, I play solo and I play mid more often than not. If you look at my player profile, I play roughly 50% mages. It shouldn't be entirely accurate, but sadly that's how it looks. What else can I say? I have 6 diamond characters, which is the maximum rank. There are 10 ranks to a god. The last one grants you a special skin, rank 5 grants you a skin, and rank 1 lets you have access to a gold skin. I should have recorded the in-game sound because it would have been a lot more interesting than me talking about it, but I feel like a commentary would be well here because I don't record too much Smite anymore. As far as gods go, Kuang is pretty easy to play. I picked him for this matchup in part because of the lineup that they used, but also in part because I try and rotate the person I mid with game to game regardless. Obviously I'll make exceptions if we don't have the first pick or if I'm further down the list, but typically try and do that. My most played god is Agni. Just a huge fan. He's gone through a lot of changes, but he's a lot of fun. Ao is a very good mage to learn, in part because his kit is very easy to master, so just think about it that way. Scylla is too. Scylla is she's kind of a garbage god. Mostly because the people who play her a lot, I don't know, now I digress. Let's see here. Now here, coming up here, is one of the first kill that I get of the game. The Freya in question we shut down pretty well. Now, Geb here is going to set me up with a nice shockwave into his ult, which I then do my squall. And then he also did some nice shielding and body blocking for me. So he did pretty well with that. Currently, I am in the Gold 2 division, but I will rise again, which is a little ahead of the middle of the pack. Better than average, I would say. I need one more division and I will be in Platinum, so that's cool. Mamma mia, gararifa fikiko. And then Artemis just went off for a little bit. Did pretty well without too much help because Geb was rotating. So here's some keys to remember when playing ranked. Wards are vital. Wards make or break games. You need vision on your map, because otherwise it's like, what's a good sufficient historical example? When the Russians were first invaded. No, that's terrible. Yeah, anyway, I've got nothing there. Vision is important. Secondly, you need to call missing, even if you don't follow up, which you usually should. Even if you don't, you need to call, and usually what I like to do is I'll call missing, and then I'll ping in the last location that I saw them. Or I'll ping in the location where I think they're going, usually, since I mid a lot, it's in the areas to the left or the right of the enemy's tower, because they're rotating to either the solo or the duo lane. And that's really more a matter of common courtesy than anything else. It's just the right thing to do, and that's what it boils down to. Let's see. There are some weak gods in the game right now, as there tend to be. Arachne is one of them, which is kind of unfair in part because she actually isn't too bad in the right hands. But for the most part, Arachne players just, I don't know. Not the people who play Arachne, just Arachne as a god needs a rework. Thankfully there was not one in this game. Oh yeah, I should mention, the enemy team was composed of Kumbhakarna, Rama, Hercules, Freya, and Scylla. So what they did is they opted for a fairly squishy but powerful lineup, with the exception of Hercules and Kumbha. Now, the Kumbha in question got bursted down a couple times, and I think that's part of the reason that the left lane took as many hits as it did. But the Hercules did have a good game, early on anyway. Later on, he didn't have enough magical defense to do much of anything. Now, I just smacked him upside the head with a dragon, so go team. Now, if you kill the mid laner opposite you, there are a couple things you can do. Personally, these guys that I was playing with were fairly aggressive. The buff stealing is usually a fairly good idea. If I had put that a little bit further, that would have been great. In this way, and this I'm very proud of. You will need to juke occasionally. He hit me over the wall for reasons I don't entirely understand. Also, when you hear the boulder coming, you see it right there, just whizzing past me, would have killed me, probably. So that's important to realize, and then no, don't be a lazy backer. Make sure that you're well out of harm's way before you back. More often than not, people will not pay attention and they'll get easily finished off when it's something that could have been avoided. Up there, Scylla was from my lane. I backed. We were all in a group, and in circumstances like that, even if you call missing, I don't know, it doesn't matter too much. Now here's an interesting scenario. These guys had just taken the mid camp. Now what I could have done, I probably could have killed the Hercules. But right there I just placed a tornado to kind of harass him because why not really? The build I use is a little unorthodox. I remembered about halfway through that Polynomicon is actually kind of garbage now. So I thought about picking it up because I used to do that, but yeah. Much like Battlefield Heroes, the game for which I owe all my subscribers, once I max out a character's level, I tend not to play them as much, which is not necessarily the best reaction, but it's the one I chose to go with. And in that way, I don't tend to play a lot of my diamond mages very often, unless I'm playing Assault. And I play Assault next to never. What it boils down to also is that Bastet is pretty good at countering some of the high burst mages, or some of the mages which really put out the damage. Scylla is one of them. We had a Loki which countered the Freya very, very well. Now, a fight's gonna break out here in a couple seconds because we didn't have enough people rotate. Now, the Kumba's gonna mez me out. Now I plant this here. It's gonna hit him. Well, that's a material. I just got juked out there. There's not really an excuse. It would have been... And then he, probably worse because his cone attack is bigger. Now I don't know quite what I was thinking. Also, if you're low on health, remember, you want to go to the opposite edge of where your opponent is, so if he's firing at you from there, just try and get behind the tower. It ends up making a lot more sense. At least it does to me, but, you know. A lot of times, you need to experiment a lot and find a role with which you are comfortable. For some people, that's support. For other people, it's roaming around in the jungle. For me, it happens to be in the mid lane, or the solo lane. I found that my ADC is probably my worst role. Everything else is average or better. Well, I don't say average. My solo and my mid are by far my best roles. I try not to jungle too often because there are people far better suited to it. I don't mind, actually supporting, I don't mind doing it all. I tend to support with fairly unorthodox. Now that was kind of fortunate. Now that ult hit quite a bit. Very, very nice that way. And then I finish him off with a squall. So there we go. Anyway, now we are going to take Gold Fury. One of the more important... Well, there are three truly critical objectives in the game. There are towers and phoenixes. The most important of these is obviously the Minotaur, but after the Minotaur, the Fire Giant and Gold Fury are both very critical. The Gold Fury gives 300 gold to each person on your team. The Fire Giant gives you a attack buff, which includes a damage increase, an HP 5 increase, possibly an MP 5 increase. I don't actually know. I just know that it buffs you. I don't... You'll see here that I opted for more pen. Owl's tornadoes tend to tick away quite a bit so that they lower the magic protection, which is why I had Spear of the Magus. What else can be said here? Now, when using Owl's ultimate, you typically want... Tighter spaces are your friend because they allow for less room to maneuver for your opponent, which is often why I try and do it in the corridors entering into the jungle, because the dragon pretty much fills the corridor and makes it impossible to miss. You're going to see some ult snipes later in the game, which are just a result of practice and kind of leading the target. Hitting it, I mean, obviously the further out you go, the harder it's going to be to hit. That one is kind of unfortunate. Bastet's going to finish off the Freya. I'm going to... And then he's just going to get blocked. Cat blocked. He got pounced on pretty badly there. He got and sadly enough, the Geb died, but the Geb died for a good purpose. So, and then this is the only actual mistake I made in the game. I should have sold off the mystical trinket or magical trinket, which is the green trapezoid-shaped thing on the lower right, the second item that I have. I should have sold that off, and I should have probably bought a breastplate or started something like... I should have started Rod earlier, Rod of Tahuti, for damage, or something related to that, but I did not. Now, I baited the Rom pretty well here, because he is now out of mana completely. Bastet's going to come in and clean him up. So that happened. I'm going to back. Buy more wards. It'll probably cost you 100 or 135 each time if you buy a sentry ward. And really, that does add up over the game, because most people end up buying, 20 some odd wards or more per game. And that's the cost of a mid to high tier item most of the time. But it is worth it. It's far better to have vision, just because there's not really an excuse to not have it. That was one tornado. If you're looking down at the Kumba's health, I think he might have started at full or a little below full, but now he's at just a little less than half, and that's really the power of Spear of the Magus with an ability that ticks randomly. Not randomly, consistently. Now, if you shut down a character like Freya, there are certain carries or assassins or mages that if they don't get ahead or stay even early on, they end up being just woefully underfarmed. They don't do damage, they just underperform. And Freya is one of those, especially, this one. We shut her down and we shut Scylla down, and that really contributed to why we won. We also had superior teamwork. Initially, they had hoped that I would pick a different mage to mid with. Now, here I threw a blind tornado, and I ended up picking up this guy, which also put me in a somewhat bad position, because this will be where I pick up my first death in fairly soon. The Rama, I saw him rolling. Kumba's coming here. He's going to use his ult on me. I'm going to ult. See, notice you can't really dodge. Yeah, Artemis is going to finish him off. Kumba's passive was eliminated. What else? Now, if I had been smart, also, I would have remembered that I could have bought Divine Ruin. Well, I remembered that I could have bought Divine Ruin, but instead I opted to sell both of those things. And I want to say that I ended up getting... Yeah, I ended up getting tier 2 of Rod, and then Sprint, which is helpful. I'm a very, very strong proponent of buying Sprint on fairly slow mages or mages that don't have a good escape. Ao is a mage that has a terrible, not a terrible escape, but you could have done better. Now, Scylla's going to ult out, which increases her movement speed and gives her one hell of an attack, but... The downside, of course, is it has a high cooldown, so that was unavailable. She also burned her beads there, her purification beads, which meant that if we hit her with hard crowd control, she'd be pretty fucked. And that's one of the reasons that Geb is such a nice god, because he has the shield with a knock-up, a stun, and a slow. He just has a lot of CC going on. Now, that dark haze around my body is the result of a Witchblade that somebody on the enemy team has. Probably the Herc. I didn't actually look too much at... now, this is nice. That's going to hit both. My Tornado's doing work here. Rama just ulted on us from over there. I'm going to have to break free. I dropped a tornado behind. Typically, just call one in at your feet or nearby. What's going to happen here? We're going to hit him. We're going to hit him. I'm going to call win in again. I used beads and Geb used his shield, which was really good. And this is an example of wanting to find... Now that's another... and right there you see a Herc boulder missing, which is good, because that also would have meant a death for me. And now Geb and I are both going to back. As games go, it was fairly exciting. I recorded a couple others from both Arena and from Siege. In the Arena one I play Geb, in the Siege one I play Zhong. I played a ranked before this where I played Aphrodite in the solo lane, which is very interesting. However, we had a DC and ended up losing because of the DC. So, not... That being said, if you want to play with me, I will put my referral link in the link to this video. You are welcome to add me. I don't have too many friends in Smite, but you are welcome to do so. Also, if you make it all the way to 30, I do get a gem bonus, which allows me to buy things which would normally cost money. So... something to think about if you feel generous towards me. Now here we're getting into the mid to late game. We passed the 20 minute mark a couple minutes ago. So now where people start actually doing severe damage. I just whiffed that tornado completely. Okay, now here's one of the snipes I'm talking about. You'll notice that they're all kind of lined up. And I just launch it. It hits Scylla right at the end. Now I drop a tornado on Rom, drop another one here, another one there. I'm not going to be able to finish him, sadly enough, but Loki is. And now Herc is pursuing me, so I sprint out. Also hit him with a slow. Thankfully he peels for me, and he nails that. I don't quite have enough gold yet to finish off Rod, which is kind of sad, but... in any case... now, there's going to be probably another fight up here. I don't quite remember, even though I just played it. I don't quite remember what the circumstances were. Late game, it's totally okay for you to do what I'm doing and just take a jungle buff. You don't need to worry about the jungler unless he asks for it being upset, or unless you're playing with somebody who's just really aggressive. This guy really only cared about the speed, and that's fine, you know. Mages typically don't need speed. Now this... I did miss this, admittedly. And the Herc is gonna just punch me out of the way. Yeah, there's not really much you can do about that. However, he's also gonna chuck a boulder over the wall. And Rom is going to ult. If you see those little light flashes, that's Rom's ult hitting the ground. Freya coming in at me. I don't know why she whooped there. She was well off. Now here, I want to say this is this is my second and other death of the game. The Freya actually hit me pretty well. However, she landed in the tornado, and I was able to pick her off. So that was enough for me to get. The Rod. Now the Rod does adds a ridiculous amount of damage, so instead of my tornadoes hitting for like 70 and 80, they start hitting for 120, 140, and pretty soon that starts adding up into real damage. Now my ult can 0 to 100 most squishies, not all of them. Now this Scylla just was caught napping, got completely shut out. And he did a really nice job here. I don't know if I would have stuck around, but he was pretty confident, and he clearly did a good job with it. Now I forget what the next item. I don't think I finished my next item because the game is winding down. There's only about 5 minutes or so remaining. But here's the situation. My parents went away on a week's vacation. No, here's the situation. They have what looks to be 2 towers left, and we have 2 in the middle because I don't like giving up my towers very easily. 2 in the middle. They have what appears to be 2, although I think that in practice they end up not having as many. And remember, you want to keep that ward vision up. Even late game, even if you have them pushed up, ganks can come out of nowhere, and it does not take too much to ruin your day with a gank. If Freya was even an average player, she would have ganked me more often. It would have been much more difficult for me to control the lane as well as I did. Now Bastet tried to solo her. Did an okay job. Herc came in here, tried to hit me, but I beadsed. If I hadn't beadsed, oh gosh. That's how hard my ult can hit. It just hits really, really hard. It didn't kill the Herc, but if you fire it down the lane, then they have to spread out or use an Aegis or, a dodge, something like that. I try and support as best I can, but my mana is pretty low, so limited amount I can do. Now, Art doesn't even really need my help at this stage. She just crit monster, just takes him out. Now, they are going to take Fire Giant when I back, which is kind of cool. I start Soul Reliquy, and I was going to turn it, since it's kind of the late game and stacks are pointless at this stage, or, starting an item as expensive as that is pointless. I was going to go for a Soul Reaver, but that ended up being unnecessary. Now they're going to take that, and Loki is going to take the right Phoenix. He is going to die in the process, which is too bad. But he does kill the Scylla, which is kind of nice, and then he gets banished, and then it all goes downhill. Now, I'm also going to assist the Artemis here. I plan a sentry ward on it, and Artemis has the actual physical damage to get it done. I could solo it myself. I don't have enough... I don't have too much sustain because I neglected to start... Warlock Sash or one of the other ones, or even Bancroft's. But he's able to finish off the Gold Fury just fine. I rotate over to help him with blue. Now there's only about, let's see here, 3 minutes left, 3 or 4. So really coming down to the wire. Now we're going to group up and we're going to push the middle. At least I think we're going to push the middle. Pardon me. We just played this game very carefully. We didn't take unnecessary risks most of the time, which is very helpful. Which is very helpful a lot of the time. I'm going to pick up 2 more kills in the last couple minutes. One of them just before the Minotaur dies, which is kind of... this might be the last time I go back to base, because I don't remember finishing anything else. Now, Artemis and I... well, I should wait a little bit, I'm getting ahead of myself. They're going to push and try and draw them out into a fight, which is another thing you want to do when you have the buff, is make them fight. Normally people will just turtle up and defend, and that's fine, but... you want to get them to engage, and in this case they did in fact turtle up. We just pushed them back progressively. Bastet did quite a bit of work right there, and that tornado just really took a chunk out of Freya. It was kind of nice. If I had done Divine Ruin, the Hercules would have been negated as well, but I didn't think it merited it. Now, I am going to pop, I want to say, I feel like I throw an ult in there someplace, but not entirely sure. I think Geb's plan, which he enacted, was to draw them out. And he did that fairly well. We were able to get... Well, Loki started pushing from the left side, which forced them back. Herc rotated, the rest of them rotated. Here is perhaps my favorite snipe of the game. Just boom! And it was just a mondo hit. Just across the board. Really good hit. Right at the edge of the dragon. And it just snuffed her right out. So, and this is going to be the last little snippet of the game here. I missed a couple squalls, but that will happen, especially with a god as slippery as Rama. Now he's going to ult, I'm going to put a tornado down. This is where my last kill comes in. He's going to land, promptly die, and that's the game. I ended 7-2 with 23 or 22k damage. Again, you're welcome to add me. I will put my player link in the chat, as well as a couple other things. And thank you for watching. I will upload more Smite gameplay soon. Peace!